Welcome to Social Workin' Podcast lecture on the 10 key principles of social group work. I'm going to be explaining each principle and giving examples, but I'll need your help staying engaged. Be ready to answer questions, give suggestions, and participate through the comments. Let's begin. Principle 1. Planned group formation. The first principle is all about the planning and formation of the group itself. Social workers can't just throw people together randomly. The group needs to be carefully constructed with an intentional purpose in mind. For example, if working with teens struggling with drug addiction, you wouldn't just lump them in with senior citizens facing loneliness. The populations and their needs are too different. So think about it. If you were starting a group for young adult cancer survivors, what factors would you want to consider when forming that group? Pause here and leave your ideas in the comments. Principle 2. Specific objectives. Okay, once we have the right group formed, we need to establish specific objectives both for the overall group and for individual members. These objectives should align with the broader mission of the agency or program. For a cancer survivor group, an overall objective might be to provide a supportive community and tools for coping with anxiety and trauma. But individual objectives could range from building self-confidence, to making lifestyle changes, to finding their new normal. What other objectives might be relevant for this group? Shout them out. Principle 3. Purposeful Worker Group Relationship. The relationship between the social worker and the group members is pivotal. It must be built on mutual trust, acceptance, and a clear sense of purpose. This doesn't just happen automatically. It takes conscious effort from the worker. Think back to an impactful teacher or counselor you had. What did they do to forge that positive connection with your class or group? Describe their approach in the comments. Principle 4. Continuous individualization. Even though we're working with a group, we can't lose sight of each member as a unique individual. Their personal experiences, perspectives, and needs require continuous individualization within the program. For our cancer survivor example, maybe there are activities like art therapy that could be tailored based on personal preferences and expressive styles. How else could we ensure individualization for diverse members? Leave your thoughts below. Principle 5. Guided group interaction. The social worker doesn't just sit back and observe. Their role is to actively guide interactions and discussions in a productive manner. Let's try a scenario. You're facilitating a session where members are discussing fear of recurrence. Someone makes an insensitive comment that derails and offends others. As the group worker, what could you do to gently get the interaction refocused in a more positive direction? Pause and strategize. Principle 6. Democratic self-determination. This principle is about empowering the group members to have a democratic voice in determining their own activities, discussions, topics, projects, and more. It's about letting the group take ownership. But this requires setting up an effective system for group decision-making. How could you implement this in our cancer survivor group? Would you use voting, consensus, another method? Explain your approach. Principle 7. Flexible functional organization. Over time, a group structure, roles, and needs tend to evolve organically. Maybe new issues arise, or the original format starts feeling stale. That's where this principle of flexibility comes in. As the social worker, you may need to adapt the functional organization to changing circumstances. If you sensed your current organizational setup wasn't working optimally anymore, what kinds of adjustments could you propose? How could roles and logistics shift? Principle 8. Progressive program experience. Effective social group work doesn't just jump in at the deep end. It starts by meeting the group where they currently are in terms of skills, knowledge, and capacities. Then it progressively builds experiences in a stepped, developmentally appropriate way over time. If you had a group of teens struggling with body image, for example, you might start with simple self-care and self-esteem activities before working up to more intensive therapy techniques. How could you design an engaging, progressive experience for this group? Brainstorm some ideas. Principle 9. Resource utilization. Social workers are masters at making the most of limited resources. This principle reminds us to be resourceful and strategic about utilizing all available assets to benefit the group's experience. For instance, maybe you could find relevant guest speakers, collaborate with local organizations doing related work, or tap into affordable community spaces for off-site field trips. What other resources could potentially be useful for enriching your group's activities? Principle 10. Evaluation. The final principle covers the importance of continuous evaluation and assessment to gauge the group's progress and outcomes. This could involve participant surveys, progress monitoring, reviewing case notes, and more. Why is this ethical practice so crucial for social group work? Summarize the key reasons for evaluation in a sentence or two. Conclusion. Well done, everyone. You all did a fantastic job digging into these 10 fundamental principles of social group work. By truly understanding and applying them, social workers can create transformative, empowering group experiences for so many populations in need. An interactive mastery of these principles, paired with compassion and skill, is what unlocks the incredible potential of this field. Thank you for your insightful participation.